Hi, I'm Sarah Barrett Neal, Gallery Manager with the Glen Arbor Arts Center. Today, I'm in conversation with visual artist Alison Kysia, the creator of the multimedia art and storytelling project called 99 Clay Vessels. This conversation is a companion program to the Arts Center's current exhibition, Vessels. In 2017, Alison, a potter and educator living in Maryland, experienced sustained anti-Muslim bigotry. She channeled her anger and sadness into her artwork, and out of that, the 99 Clay Vessels project was born. Welcome, Alison. Talk about the origins of this project.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. The origins of the project were I was working in an interfaith academic institution as an educator, and the organization brought in a number of Muslims to work with Muslim communities. And then once we were in there, did not want to listen to our thoughts and suggestions. We're very much not open to inclusiveness and collaboration. Mm-hmm. And it was a very, very painful experience. And clay has always been a form of therapy for me, my pottery practice. And so I just would come home from work, super upset, and just started creating these pinch pots. And this was really outside of my own practice. My own practice was as a functional wheel thrower. And so I didn't know why I was doing it, but I couldn't stop doing it. I ended up making over 300 of these pots. And they helped me. They helped me get through this really difficult experience and help me not just walk away and drop it, but really transform who I was in order to figure out how I got in that situation in the first place.
So at work, you were your contributions weren't even being acknowledged as legitimate.
No, it was really a bait and switch situation. Like they brought us in, said, you're going to have these resources and we're really interested in hearing your thoughts and ideas. And then frankly, really treated us in a very colonial manner. This is what we want you to do. This is how we want you to do it. Thank you for your opinion. We're not interested. And so that happens to lots of people at work.
Sure. You talked about making pinch pots, which is a hand process. How were they fired?
So I fired them. So I made, like I said, over 300 of them, which was great because I needed to experiment with different firing methods. And I finally settled on a pit fire. So this is a pretty rustic process. I can show you pictures in a minute if you'd like, where we bury them, in a very rustic pit. You can literally dig a hole in the ground, fill it with sawdust, wood, the pots, some copper carbonate, which brings out the red color that you'll see in the pots. And then you set the thing on fire, you feed it wood for a number of hours, let it burn down, pull them out, and that's it. And the process I love because the fire marks are very distinct. Mm-hmm. And it was those fire marks that I really wanted to symbolize this idea of transformation. We each have to go through the fire if we are going to come out transformed. There is no life of non-suffering. That doesn't exist. The question is, what are we going to do when we are put through this kind of suffering? Who are we going to be and who are we going to become out of that? And I think that the way I fired them, it really shows that. Also, when you look at them, closely, they look like microcosms of the macrocosm. I mean, if you take, and I have taken some close-up photos of the picture of the pots, which I can also show you. And one of my friends said, it looks like a NASA photo. So I love that too, because we are microcosms of the macrocosm. And this whole project is really about, the deep isolation we feel when we are being discriminated against. And yet we have to remember to go back to our source, to our community, because we are part of this greater whole. We are not simply individuals.
If you do have some pictures of the pots themselves, why don't you share them with us?
Yes, it says, can you share the screen sharing function with me?
Oh, yes, I can.
Pull this up. Give me 1 second to just adjust this. So these are the pinch pots. And as you can see, you can really see my finger marks in them, which I love. It was that just very tactile experience. I experimented with a number of different clay bodies, settled on this kind of brown clay versus the white or red. And this is the pit that we make just with bricks, real simple. Fill it up, fire it, let them burn. Some of them break.
They're just lovely. Alison, in the process of in the beginning, when you were just starting to make the pots, at what point did it occur to you that, aha, this is more than just me working out my feelings about what's happening at work. This has a bigger, there's more significance to this. It could be something.
So, I made the pots and they were sitting on a shelf for a couple of years. And during the pandemic, they literally started talking to me and said, we shouldn't be sitting on a shelf collecting dust. We should do what we did for you for others, which is be a vessel, a place where you can put your pain and do something productive with it. And so I started calling some friends and I said, I have this crazy idea. What do you think? And they thankfully cheered me on. And that's how it developed. I then reached out to this wonderful woman, Sabrina Njai. She is a psychotherapist, a Muslim woman, psychotherapist and healer. We created these amazing workshops where we bring together 11 women at a time, Muslim women, activists and creatives, to do, some healing work and then create some artwork out of that experience.
And you have alluded to it, and I failed to say this in the beginning, but the project is focused on Muslim women, and we can talk about that in just a second. But before we get to that, you've selected 99 as the number of material objects. Project material objects, there's literature and poetry. Your part of it has been the creation of these pots. 99 is a number of significance in Islam.
There are 99 names of God in Islam. And these are such, this is a healing resource in Islam that we have. We recite the names. There have been so many books written over the past 1,500 years about the 99 names, what their significance is. It's something that we use in the workshops, to meditate on. So that is really what came out of my own meditation. It was those 99 names and remembering that when we are put under great pressure, we often as humans do not rise to our higher selves. We actually, often can act in the same oppressive ways. And so this was like a meditation to remind me, do not lower your standards or your values because of what you're going through, just the opposite. Figure out how you got here and rise above it so that you never experience this again and that you never do this to anyone either. So that is the significance of the 99.
The project is built on, as I just said a few seconds ago, visual, literary, and performing arts. In the context of this project, how is visual language different, powerful than just stating the fact? You could have come out and said, this and this and this happened to me. I felt this way. It's wrong. But instead, you poured yourself into handwork in a visual form. How does that speak differently about what you're feeling than just writing it down?
Such a great question. You know, I have been an anti-bias educator for over 20 years, and I wrote a curriculum called the Challenge Islamophobia Project at Teaching for Change, you know, which is exactly this. It's a curriculum. And it comes from this place of like, if we only just look at the facts and figures, you know, we can get people to invest in this issue and be concerned about it. And sadly, what I found is that, you know, I don't want to say it doesn't work. It is, that's not the right way to go about it. You know, these issues are extremely complicated and they live inside of our bodies in lots of different ways. And when we start talking about bigotry, racism, imperialism, any of these kinds of topics, all kinds of stuff is going on. And it's not simply about logic. And when we try and engage people simply with logic, it becomes this debate about who is going to be right about something. And so it was from doing that work that made me realize, and then seeing the reaction that people had to my pottery, even just the most basic thing like a coffee cup, and watching the way that they light up when they find out that I made that cup, and saying, what if I could get that kind of connection, human connection, around these political issues that I want to talk about and that are important to me. And so this project has been, you know, amazing in that way, to kind of see how much easier it is to open people's hearts first and then talk about what's going on. You know, when they can see that humanity in us, that is when magic can happen. When it stays like in the realm of facts and figures, it just becomes, I think, often a very arrogant debate and is unproductive.
Everyone has some kind of relationship with a bowl and a ceramic bowl. And
So true.
It's a place to start where everybody has a common reference point.
For sure. Because
build from that and start easing into things that are a little bit more difficult. If you're just spewing facts and figures, I can imagine there's the glaze over factor too, but there's not
a defensiveness.
Yes.
The clay that you, as you're saying this, you know, the reason that clay is so powerful is because we are the material. And this is written in a number of sacred scriptures, including the Quran. We are made of clay. And I honestly believe that when people hold clay pots, as you said, they are actually connecting to that level of our humanity. It's a very powerful material that way.
I think something happens when we work with our hands, and I'm about inside the maker. What lessons did you come away with through all the making? And the lessons I'm wondering about is, what did you learn about the value of making each of these pots by hand?
Oh, I mean, you know, the value of that is just total liberation and bliss. It's just that moment of being completely lost in, you know, the beauty of being alive. You know, making things, and part of this 99 Clay Vessels project is about getting Muslim women to make something, make art, you know. So what you're saying is core to this project. And that is because, again, thinking about brain science, you know, our analytical capacity is our tyrant. We are constantly like under this pressure to process information. And what art does is it shifts us into another part of our brain and another part of our consciousness, you know, literally into the creative force that lives inside of us. And I think when we shift into that space and let ourselves really spend some time there, we begin to see that so much of the analytical, you know, work of our brain, you know, is a form of tyranny. And it's very hard to connect with people's humanity in that space. You know, we have to go to a space where we can do like actual soul work. And so there's something about, getting away from the computer, getting away from even written text and moving into a place where you're making something with your hands. You are channeling, El Khaliq, the name of the creator. You have that force inside of you. And I think when we channel that and practice it, it can open up all kinds of amazing things for us as individuals and for us as communities and societies. We need that creative potential so badly right now. As we see, in both domestic and global affairs, there is so much suffering right now. We need to create something wholly new that we've never seen before, which for me is a radically inclusive society where everybody feels safe and everybody has what they need to live in dignity. We need artists to do that because that place has never existed in human history.
Mm-hmm. The creative work is life affirming.
Absolutely. It is life. We spend so much time in our day and in our life, in this kind of like robotic mode.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about self-care. To me, this is the ultimate self-care, is doing something simply because it is like nourishing and powerful. Yeah.
This is the point in the conversation where one would ask, where can we see this exhibition? And your answer is
99clayvessels.com. The website is, an online art exhibition. It is an archive. You can go on the storyteller page. I encourage people just to take some time and start clicking through that page and see what these women have created. I mean, it is just mind-blowing. It's educational, it's heartbreaking, it's inspiring. So yes, go look at the website. And we also, have events, live and online events, where we also share different aspects of the project more deeply.
the website really is pretty great, if only to look at the images of the work, but it's a way to just sit with the idea for a while. And that's one of the things I found so satisfying about looking at it.
I appreciate that. That's right. We all have to kind of slow down a little bit and have time to really take a look at these kinds of projects. Mm-hmm.
Alison, thanks so much. Let me just tell the people who are watching this that the Art Center's Vessels exhibition can be seen in our main gallery and online through October 27. Thank you, Alison, for your time and your creative work. And thanks to all of you who are watching, and we'll see you next time.